welcome to another episode of Stuck in My Mind podcast. I am your host, W-I-Z-E. And my next guest believes hosting is more than a media skill, it's a life skill. With a background that started in a radio internship and evolved into a nationally syndicated talk show gig, he has mastered the art of conversation. Today, he's an executive podcast producer and host coach, helping people unlock the power of connecting through compelling dialogue. Whether you're launching a podcast, leading a meeting, networking, or navigating a first date, my next guest shows you how hosting changes things the way. My next guest shows you how hosting changes the way you lead, listen, and communicate with purpose. Welcome to the show, Vince Quinn.
Hey, what's going on? Thanks for having me.
Pleasure's mine, man. How you doing today?
I'm great, man. I'm great. Not enough coffee in the world, but I'm great.
Yeah, you're right. There's never enough coffee in the world.
No.
So what made you realize that hosting was more than just a radio skill?
Yeah, it's just one of those things that being around all sorts of people who work regular corporate jobs, because I never did, right? So for me, I spent my whole career in radio, and then I've been a podcast producer, and doing all of that work is not a job on some level. But for all these other people who are like, well, I get these stupid emails and these wasteful calls, and we have these company meetings, and like, it's all just such a waste of time. And I'm looking around, I'm going, okay, well, you're talking about people who are organizing some sort of speaking arrangement and inviting people to go and attend this thing and listen to this thing, and they have a message to deliver. And a lot of times it's not a useful one. People walk away going, this is a waste of my time. So clearly something is broken here. And if people had that mindset of, okay, I am a host and I do need to have all these things of preparation and a clear delivery and point and being selective about who I'm inviting to these conversations, like all of those sorts of things that make great content are the same things that just make good communication. And so we should really be talking about how we can be better communicators in this age where everybody has access to everybody.
Yeah, definitely. Can you share that first conversation you ever hosted that made you feel like unstoppable?
Oh, unstoppable, man. That was probably me at a party when I was 15 and like everybody was looking at me. You know what I mean? Like, you ever have those moments where you're just in a conversation and you're just like, oh, I'm like running the show here. Like everybody's looking at me and I'm driving it and I'm going to other people, but it's always bouncing back to me. Yeah. And that's the kind of thing that, yeah, like I was always a social guy, and I spent so much time just being around people. I loved people. So I grew up, and I say this in a funny way because I very much loved my parents, okay, but I was never home. And I just liked being out and about with friends. So I spent all of this time just talking constantly anyway, and different types of people with different moods, but I always found a way to connect with them. And so it's just something that really built up over time and honestly felt incredibly natural.
So how do hosting skills show up on your daily life outside of podcasting and radio?
Yeah, so it's literally everywhere in every kind of conversation you have, right? Because ultimately you want a good interaction with somebody. So you want to build a relationship, you want to strengthen a relationship that you've had, and it applies everywhere. So for example, I'm going to dinner tonight. So we're gonna finish this, and then I'll end up going to dinner tonight with some people that I haven't seen in quite a while. And before we sit down for that conversation, I will be checking in with my wife and going, all right, so what have they been up to lately? What's been going on with that? I know you're on Instagram. What have they been posting about? What's he up to? What's she doing? Didn't they have this thing that they did a couple of months ago? Yeah, like, and all of that is research. It's prep work. It's the idea that when I'm getting into this conversation, I have things in my mind that I know that they've done that I want to talk about with them. And rather than showing up just completely spur of the moment and going, well, I'm here now. Okay. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not just hoping for the best. I'm at least going in with some idea of, okay, yeah, I have an idea of what they've been up to now, and I've got some natural curiosity and things that can drive the conversation. And, oh, it's been this long since we did get to meet. Well, here's some things that we've been up to and like stuff that we can talk about without being redundant and annoying. So those are the kinds of things. Like, and it sounds silly, but how many times have you gone to a family party and looked at somebody at Thanksgiving and been like, well, I haven't seen you in 8 months. How you doing? They're like, I'm good. And you're like, all right, great. Okay, see you later. You know, like you just then you're like, why do we never talk to Uncle Kevin? And it's like, well, you do, but you never try. You know what I mean? So if you really want to have relationships with people, it takes work. And that's really what it comes down to, is like putting in the work to engage with people and show them that you're interested, and just keeping that connection.
Yeah, now one of my favorite parts since I started podcasting was attending Podfest and getting to connect with like-minded people and fellow podcasters, and just having some wonderful conversations and building relationships and friendships that are going to last a lifetime. And it starts off with simple conversation, just being able to speak to them and ask questions and getting to know each other.
Yeah, and remembering some of the things that you talked about when you had that first conversation, right? So it's, hey, last time we spoke, you mentioned that you were working on this. You know, you were planning to do this with the show or have this guest or whatever it was. Like, how's all of that going, right? And it's, hey, I was paying attention to you and what we were talking about then. I wasn't just waiting to speak. And
Yeah.
so I remember those things about you. That means something to me. I'm paying attention to you.
Mhm.
And I want to know more about it. Like I'm genuinely interested in how it's going. And I think that means a lot, right? To have somebody go like, hey, how's that thing going? You're like, oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, thank you for asking about that. You know, it helps.
What's one moment from your radio days you'll never forget, and what did it teach you?
Ooh, okay. Let's see. So there was one time where I was working with CBS Sports Radio. I had my own national show at this point, but it was the weekend overnight show.
Mm,
And so I'm doing 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. on Saturday night and Sunday night, or I should say Saturday morning and Sunday
in the
morning,
morning.
2 a.m. to 6 a.m. So that's me. That's my show. And I go, you know what? I want to like get management's attention. And so what I decided to do was start a mail-in campaign without telling anybody at the office. I just decided on the air. I was like, hey, if you want to write into the show, write into the show. And like I made a mailbox for myself there because they had a cubby for all of these other hosts and people at the station, and I didn't have one. And I was like, I'm giving myself a mailbox and I'm going to have people write me mail and we're just going to see what happens. And like, I remember somebody who was in like some administrative person there emailed me one day and they're like, we have a lot of mail for you, question mark, like what is this, and what should we do with it, you know? And I was like, yes, like it's awesome to know that somebody's paying attention out there. Like I have a real audience of people that hear this show, enjoy this show, have now taken the time to actually
Right.
pick up a pen and like write something or mail me stuff. Like they sent me stickers of, hey, here's this random bar in my town and I thought you'd like it. And I'm like, yeah, sure. And like I put the sticker on my desk at home, you know? So it was a really cool thing. It was very simple and very dumb, but I got a great kick out. I did it for like 3-4 weeks where I was encouraging people. I got a good number of things that were sent in. I learned a lot more about the people that were a part of the audience. And I even shared those things on air. So some of the things that I got that were like cool pieces of mail to add fire to it, I was like, well, here's this person from, you know, whatever Springs, Illinois. And here's what they wrote. And like, thank you so much for that. And it was just, it demonstrated the power of radio, right? Because you feel like, hey, it's the middle of the night. Like I'm,
Man.
yeah. Like it's tough, man. I'm in a room by myself in the middle of nowhere, essentially, and going like, I have no idea if I'm getting some calls, but how much of an impact does it really make? And to have people say like, man, you get me through every weekend shift that I've got. Like it's such a great thing to have you on, and it's been such a relief for me, you know. And it's like, oh wow, yeah, no, this is making a difference for people. Like it's a really special thing, and I'll always remember that. It was a great feeling.
Awesome. So, how do you coach introverts differently from extroverts when it comes to hosting?
Yeah, so it comes down to, on some level, addressing the anxiety of
Mhm.
it and figuring out the strengths, right? Because ultimately it's about comfort. You want to feel comfortable doing it.
Yeah.
And so, okay, Well, what are the things that you enjoy about this? You've decided you want to do it. So what do you like about it? What do you want to be better at? Like finding where is this interest? Where is this desire? Where is this passion? And how can I harness that? And on some level, highlight the things that people do well. Because everybody has certain things that they do within communication that are good. They have some good instincts. And you just have to figure out what those are and give them ways to either heighten that further or find the things that they're truly weak at and just give them the guidance and grace, honestly, because all of this stuff, it takes time. Like running a show, having a conversation, being public about it, being on camera now, which is a whole other level for podcasting that wasn't there before. Like those are major things that people aren't comfortable with. And it takes time to be comfortable with that. So, making sure that it's clear of, hey, don't beat yourself up too much. And especially as an introvert, you might be like, oh man, like now I'm putting myself out there, and you're going to tend to beat yourself up more than an extrovert would, is my guess. But with that going, yeah, you're going to get better, and you just need to appreciate that. And the fact that you're putting in the work to do this is putting you ahead of so many other people. So embrace that. And don't think of it of, oh, I failed this and I failed that, and now I'm failing at this and I need to get better at that. It's no, I'm getting better at this and that, and I'm actively working on these things. Yeah. And you're taking these steps to, get to that spot that you want to be at.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the biggest mistakes? What's one of the biggest mistakes new podcast hosts make?
Yeah, so there's the number one thing that they do is they hand their show off to a guest all the time. And what you should be doing is you got to find some ways to build a back and forth in there, right? So when you think about it, you're building the show, and the idea is you want your own audience to go with that. Yeah. And if you're not putting enough of yourself in there, what's going to happen is they won't necessarily recognize you. What they'll identify with is a rotating series of guests around an idea. And so as much as you can get to that spot where you say, okay, well, I'm going to take ownership of this thing, and I'm going to start spending more time talking about, and it's not getting rid of guests necessarily either. It's, I'm just going to have some times where I'm engaging more with those people, and I've got my own anecdotes, and let me riff on this thing for a minute and then throw it back to them, right? Like it's trying to get to that sort of, like, let's say 40-60 split, where it's, hey, you're 40% of the time, the guest is 60, and like you've got a nice flow and a rhythm, and it feels more like a conversation rather than an interview where it can be like, hey, so what's your thoughts on this? Great. And then talk again in a couple of minutes, and you just keep asking the questions. It's a hard thing, because the blueprint that you see from a lot of people is they do a basic interview. So I get it, but the best way to build your own audience is to make sure that your voice is a big part of the show.
Yeah, no, it takes, but like you said before, it takes time. It takes you constantly. Like when I first started, I didn't know how to control the interview. I had no clue. I would just have conversation. And then it wasn't until I got more structured that I started learning how to conduct an interview, how to flow along and make it more conversation. Than it's like how you said, making it sound like, oh, just answering questions. And it's actually about having an honest conversation, and just, these are questions that I want to know about. These are things that I want to know from you personally. So
yeah, being selfish is great. And it's a funny thing to say, but be selfish. Like it's your show, right?
It's funny. It's funny for me because I had a guest on, and we was having a wonderful conversation. And I was like, man, I feel kind of bad because I feel selfish, because I'm enjoying these conversations and I'm enjoying doing my podcast so much. And my guest goes, there's nothing selfish about that. That's self-love, man. You wanting to grow and learn. And the fact that you're sharing it with our audience, there's nothing selfish about it. But you know how we think we sometimes we just have a negative thought, and it was just like, oh man, I'm enjoying this too much. This just isn't right.
Yeah, but that's exactly it, right? People are along for the ride with you because it's, hey, here I am. I'm exploring this thing. I'm really passionate about this. And that's why I've built a show about it. And I'm inviting these people and having these conversations and promoting the thing. Like, you do all of it because you care about it. So care about it. Like, you are the only person that can have the conversation that you're having with that guest. And if you take ownership of it, and you're really specific of like, hey, I only want like, here's the people that I want on, and here's why I want those people on, and this is what I think is fascinating about them, and I'm going to ask them about those things, then yeah, like odds are you're going to have more unique conversations, which makes you stand out compared to the other shows and makes people want to come back and identify with you. And that's what it's all about. Like you're building community around a thing that you're passionate about. So yeah, be selfish. Ask the questions that are interesting to you.
So how has been the transition going from behind the mic, like right, to really going to behind the scenes? Like you were front and center. You had your own syndicated talk show, and now you're behind the scenes producing, helping other people create podcasts and shows.
Yeah, it's definitely an adjustment. And it's one of those things that honestly, I love it. I really do. It's because for me, I get the opportunity now to give people all of this time and experience that I've had working on radio shows where it's 4 hours. I mean, you're talking 4 hours. Sometimes I was doing 5, 6, 7 shows in a week. So when you're thinking 28 hours of radio, like, can you imagine doing 28 hours of podcasting in a week? And to do that routinely is crazy. So to be like, all right, well, I've got all this experience with developing topics, and I know that you've got all this information and all these opinions and things that you want to do. Let me help you. And like to give people those light bulb moments where they go, oh, like that's why I think this certain thing is this way. Like, for example, if you talk to somebody about a certain kind of software, right? Like a podcaster, you go like, all right, what's your favorite editing tool? They're like, oh, I like, I don't know. I use CapCut. Great. Oh, what do you like about CapCut? Oh, well, it's got all of these different features. And when you compare it to everything else on the market, it's the most cost efficient tool. And you really can't beat the value. It's like, all right, that's an opinion. You know what I mean? Now, like, so to help people find those very specific thoughts and feelings that they have and be able to express that then in a clear way, like to make the show better and really find the artistry of it is the thing that's so much fun because the people get a better understanding of themselves, honestly, as they do all of this and their business. And so to be able to help them do that is an absolute joy. I really, I think it's great. It's so much fun for me.
What's your framework for preparing for interview for?
Yeah. So if you're going to work on an interview, I mean, you got to figure out first off, depending on how long your show is, what's the most important thing to talk about, and to be able to get to that first thing and say, okay, yes, this is my main conversational point, and have a ballpark of how long you think that's going to go. The more you do shows, the easier that gets, right? You have a better idea of, well, this thing, I'll probably get like 15 minutes out of this, or I'll get another 10 out of that. And that's really what you do is you chart out the show and say, here's the things that I think are the most important to get to and put them in order, like prioritize these things. And that can be tier A, tier B, tier C, where it's, I definitely need to talk about this. It's absolutely important. These things I think are really important and hopefully I get to them. And these things, I don't think I'm going to get to them. It's not super important, but if we get a couple of minutes, I'll ask about it. And by doing that, you're thinking about this guest a lot, right? Like you're thinking about, okay, here's all of these different things that I do want to know and do want to ask them about. And I've got some thoughts in my head about what they might say or what opinions I have here. So that makes the show more dynamic. And it gets to this place where by the time the show comes together, like your interest in that person is so dynamic that you're going to stick out to the guest. They're going to go, oh, wow, this person like really came to play and they know exactly what I'm doing here. And they've got a lot of good questions for me. And you'll see your guest gets more engaged because the quality of the questions are like, oh, I've never been asked that before. You know what I mean? And like, what a win that is to get people, especially in this space where sometimes people are just on the circuit and they're going, so they're going on show after show. And to get them to go, hey, I've been on a lot of shows and like literally nobody's asked me that. That is what it's all about. So yeah, to me, it's just a lot of preparation. And again, it's finding some level of here's selfishly what I think is really interesting about that person. And at the same time, it's relevant to the audience and it's giving them, some piece of what this show is really about. And if you can put all those things together, you're in great shape.
How do you coach clients to manage nerves and self-doubt when leading conversations?
Yeah. So from that standpoint, I think part of it is preparation. And that's one of the things that for me, I leaned into big time. And it's part of the reason I was able to get as far as I did in radio so young. Like I was nationally syndicated at 29, which is crazy. And the reason I did that was because I had anxiety like nobody's business. And I was a perfectionist. And so I just over prepared. I made sure that I had something to say for all 4 hours of every show. I put in the work. But that's what gave me peace of mind was like, I've spent a lot of time doing this and thinking about this, and I know exactly what I think and why I think it. And so it becomes clearer to you of what you're doing and what you're saying and why you think it. So it's preparation in that sense and repetition. Again, it's like giving yourself time to do this because the more you do it, you'll see almost how the landscape around you it becomes clearer and you'll have opinions on everything in the space over time because you're slowly expanding to think about this and that and this and that. Like the best way I could describe it is when I was doing sports radio, imagine you're sitting in the stadium and watching a game, right? You're in the lower level and you're looking at the seats or you're looking at the court like a basketball game and you're going, okay, well, I've got an opinion about both of the teams that are on this court and how good they are and what their direction is. I've got an idea of the players on the court and each one of them, what their skill sets are, how they fit together, what their careers have been like. Are they disappointments? Are they overachievers? I'm looking at the coaches. I know their styles and how they fit with this team and what they've done to elevate or hold these teams back and what their records are. I know how the league operates and I have opinions on the league structure. I know things that happen in the arena, like if silly halftime bits and who's coming out. I've got opinions about the referees and the way they officiate certain calls. Like, but all of these things built up over time because at one point we had a conversation about referees and how a certain thing is called. And you have topics where a player becomes relevant in the news and you discuss it. And like your show and the culture of your show and like the landscape of your show, those things all get better in time. So if you're putting in that work to say, I'm going to crush it this episode, I'm really going to dive into what I feel and why I feel this way and research it as much as you need to feel confident in that opinion, like that, get to that point where you feel solid about it. And you keep doing that. And over time, like, yeah, it really is amazing what your recall is because you've sort of painted the world with these opinions and experiences that you've built up over time. And it's something that other people who don't stick around, who haven't put in the thought, they can't replicate it. And they'll never have the same vision that you do. So that's the thing is you just got to stick with it. But yeah, be particular about what you're talking about and it all comes together.
What's the weirdest hosting situation you've ever been in, and how did you navigate it?
Ooh, let's see. I've had times where people were just adversarial. They weren't team players as a co-host. And so that was weird. And the only way I got through it was the show ended. So it's I mean, it really like there's nothing to say sometimes. People just aren't always interested in engaging with you. People don't always like you. And like doing radio in sports in a big market, it was highly competitive and there were big egos and all this stuff. So there were times where it wasn't a good relationship. And it's fine. Like it is what it is. But all I could do in those cases was just get through it and try not to make it overly adversarial and just simply almost be a passive host. It was always just like, hey, I'm just going to throw this thing over here and not engage with it or go to a call and keep it moving. Like whatever I could do to just keep the situation stable, I guess. But yeah, I mean, there were times where people just weren't very, very willing to work with me or outright wanted to attack me. And it just is what it is. You know, you had to survive because it was live. It was you can't pause and be like, hey man, so what's going on about this thing? You know, it just like that's it. Like everybody's hearing it. You're in the moment, and you just need to get through it as soon as you can.
I remember early in my career, I had a guest on, and I was just beginning. This is probably one of my early episodes, and I didn't know anything about podcasting and anything, so I invested in some and some cards. They're called pod decks, right?
Okay.
And so this one was is a game called Would You Rather, and I would play that with some of my guests just to break, just to have some little fun, because like I said, I didn't know what to do on the podcast. I was still learning and growing and developing, and I had this guest, right, and we played Would You Rather, and it's a fun game. It's stupid, but it's a fun game,
Yeah.
right? It's just to have a good time, and he would not play the game. Like, he was like, "Oh, why would I do that? Like, why would I put like my man? Just like it's just a game. It's nothing. It's not like you really gonna put your hand in the blender." Like,
Yeah.
the big thing would be like, would you rather put your hand in a blender or something other stupid? And he, but why would I do that? I'm like, I'm not saying you would. I'm just saying this is just what would you what would you rather prefer? Like,
Yeah, this is a thought exercise, man. Yeah, like it's not that serious. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, and like as ridiculous as it is to go through moments like that, it's a good challenge at times,
oh
right?
yes, no,
Because usually it's just like, yeah, okay, how am I going to get through this? And if that, like, what did you do? Did you ultimately just like kill the segment? Like, you
no,
just go like, ah, all right, let's just keep it moving. Like,
we got through it, and then just kept it moving. Yeah, yeah. But
yeah,
no, it was it was just like, man, it was. And then one of my favorite interviews. I'm a big wrestling fan, and I got to interview Stevie Ray from Harlem Heat, and when we first started. I wanted to play one of the games with him, but he like, I don't play games. But we had such a great conversation. Like, it was amazing. And at the end, he was like, "Yo, let's play this game." I'm like, "No, no, you know what?" I'm like, "No, you know what? No." I'm like, "We good." We just had a wonderful conversation. I enjoyed this. Listen, you don't have to play this game. He's like, "No, no, if you want to." I'm like, "No, we good, bro." I was like, but it was just the fact that we built such a great chemistry throughout the conversation that at the end he was willing to play the game. I'm like, I'm like, nah, man, this whole conversation was amazing. So I'm good with that.
yeah. Well, for the first guy, then, for the guy who had no interest in playing the game whatsoever, when in the episode did you pitch him on Would You Rather? Out of curiosity.
Somewhere towards the end.
Okay. So
Yeah.
he was just a stiff then, right? Like he just wasn't fun,
The whole
that guy.
conversation was more like pulling teeth. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, but you learn from it. You learn, like, you grow as a host, and you start like, maybe I could have made the questions a little bit more, whatever it is. So you just tweak stuff, and yeah, but
Yeah.
it was lesson learned, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, it's all trial and error, but I think
Yeah.
what happened with the second guy is definitely typically how it goes. It's okay. We're going to build a relationship. We don't really know each other, so let's talk and let's get somewhere. And then from there, it becomes easier to like take some bigger swings because you've built a rapport and they trust you a little bit. So it's like, yeah, to see that come together in that kind of way is awesome because that makes all the sense in the world, you know. But
Yeah.
for and it makes it easier then because like, oh, okay, this guy seems like this next person might seem like the stiff. I've seen the stiff now, and I can dodge the stiff and not book the stiff.
Yeah.
So yeah, like it sucks to go through it, but ultimately the progress that you make as a result of going through it, yeah, it's one of those things, and it's a valuable lesson.
It is. It definitely is. How do hosting skills enhance leadership in corporate or entrepreneurial settings?
Yeah, I think it's trust because people don't want to feel like you're wasting their time, right? So you want to make sure that you're saying, okay, I respect what you do, and here's what you need to know, and let me do that as concisely as possible for the sake of it. If it turns out that hey, that is a 30-minute meeting because you got to run through stuff, or an hour-long meeting, like no problem, but you've got to get buy-in from people because if you feel like they're wasting their time, they don't have loyalty, and they shouldn't.
Yeah.
But people don't have loyalty to companies anymore. They're not just going to stay around arbitrarily for 35 years, 40 years just because. So if you're wasting their time, they will consider going elsewhere when they don't like their management. But the other side of it too is really just like inspiration and leadership and corporate culture. And to be able to say to people, hey, this is what we're about, and this is why we're doing what we do and where we're going. and what the vision of this company is, what, like, how we're going to solve this big problem. That's the stuff that gets people to stay forever. Because now it's, hey, here is a mission. Here is some level of inspiration. Like, not only am I engaged with this company and I love this work that I'm doing and I'm proud of it, but if I know people who are around and looking for work and there's openings at this company, I'm going to let them know, because I want more people to come here. I believe in this place. I believe in this mission. And it turns out then that the kinds of people that are in the building aren't just, selling for you. They're advocating. And to have that kind of affinity with the people that you've hired and brought in to support you in running a business, that's everything. So yeah, you need that level of communication. I mean, it's going to get total buy-in internally for all the people you're with, and people on the outside will see that, and they will be interested in working with you because they'll see the kind of pride that people have when they talk about your business, and they'll feel it when they talk to your employees. And to have that kind of energy, it's a rare thing, but people want authenticity. They want to be a part of something that's real and feels like it's got momentum behind it. And so you've got to be able to communicate those messages. And a lot of time people are just doing stuff to do it. That's nobody ever said, I'd love to get a job where I'm just pushing papers and I clock out at 5 and I just kind of forget it all happened as soon as I get home. Like, you want to be inspired by what you do. You want to feel a sense of belonging and accomplishment, and you need to communicate those goals and be effective with what you're telling people.
Absolutely. If someone only improves one communication skill, what should it be and why?
Oh, specificity. Right. So if you're going to explain what you think and why, right? I think that's it. If you can do that, things get easier. Because a lot of times, and I used to do this when I was younger and growing up and figuring everything out, is I would just state an opinion. But it got to a point where I think people tend to misunderstand each other. Right. And I think that's one of the just biggest communication problems, period, is people don't understand what the other person is saying, or people do a poor job of expressing what they're feeling and why. And if you can just say to people, hey, I was wondering about this because of this, you know what I mean? Like, I'll have those kinds of communication with my wife. It's like, hey, I saw we have this thing sitting here and I know that this thing is coming up. Should I put it in the closet or should I leave it out on the table? You know what I mean? Like, simple, right?
I have one of the funniest stories. So one day my wife goes, you know what? Listen, this is what we're going to do. Because whatever it was, I was home for whatever. And she's like, you're going to take 15, she said like 10 to 30 minutes to clean a certain spot up. Do it for 4 days or something like that. She goes, she said 10 to 30 minutes. And so after the end of the 4th day, she goes, so how was the 2 hours of cleaning? I go, the 2 hours of cleaning? She says, yeah, didn't I say that take 10 to 30 minutes? I said, yeah, I take 10 minutes. You can't give me an option. If you wanted me to clean for half an hour, you should just, hey, clean for half an hour and tell me how it goes. Don't say, hey, clean 10 to 15 or 30 minutes, whatever it is. Because the moment you give me options, I am going with the less time.
Yes. Totally in balance.
I am going with the less time. So when she was like, the 2 hours, I'm like, 2 hours? You mean the 40 minutes? I don't know what you're talking about. It's like, but I said that. I said, no. If you wanted me to do the half hour, you should have specified that, hey, I want you to do 30 minutes each day, straightening this up. And then I would have did the 30 minutes.
Yeah.
No, but don't give me the option.
And what's more important, I guess, would be the question for me, because is it that you spend a certain amount of time doing it, or is it that a goal is accomplished, right? Like, this space is looking this kind of way.
Yeah.
Well, then it's as much work as it takes to get that. That's what you're working for. I mean, you could arbitrarily make it 30 minutes each time just to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, what does that serve? And so, like, that's the kind of the thing that I'm talking about. It's like you just want to express, hey, I'm looking to do this because I'm worried about this, or I want to know more about that, and I'm trying to understand why you think this, or here's why I think that we should go to this place on Saturday instead of that place. You know what I mean? Like, but to just give that kind of thing and give a little bit of background and be willing to engage with it and have like a real conversation instead of immediately getting emotional is the kind of stuff that tends to diffuse a lot of problems, open up the line of communication, and then make it easier to talk in general, because it's like it's always coming from an open and honest and sincere place of discussion.
Oh, she learns. She goes, now she specifies, yeah, I need you to do this for this amount of time. so it kind of worked. So yeah.
Yeah. So that's it. Yeah, you got. I mean, it takes, and everybody's got their own rhythms, right? Like you figure it out. But having that way of just finding the way to try to express it and be clear about it, because we just misunderstand each other all the time or make assumptions all the time. It's it's just what people do. So you have to account for that.
We kind of touched on this already. Like, how do you keep energy up when a guest is giving flat or short answers?
Yeah. Oh man, that's a tough one, because you have to try to find anything that will get them engaged then.
It's like pulling teeth, man.
Yeah. And sometimes if people don't want to be there, it's like, why are you even doing this?
Yeah, why you even want to do the show?
Right. But yeah, and it's hard to say, because it's on some level it's based on the situation and the conversation you're having. But ultimately you want to try and find something selfishly that for them that they are looking to talk about. Yeah. Right. So trying to find things like, for example, I'll do this at parties. It'll just be like, so what are you up to in your free time? Simple, clean. And then it's like, oh, well, I'm watching a lot of television. Okay. What show? What are you into? You know what I mean? Like what's happening right now? And at least now, even if I'm getting short answers, I'm getting something where I can say, there's a track here, at least, that I can explore. And if there's a window for me to, example, open up the conversation because, oh, what are you watching? Well, right now, for me personally, I'm watching a show called Stick on Apple TV. Great. So I think it's a great show, and I'll talk about Owen Wilson, who's an actor on it, or Mark Maron, who, famous podcaster, who's one of the actors on that show. Like, but it's something now that I found something personal about them. I asked a couple of questions that got me to some sort of launch point for another part of conversation, and then from there, you see where it goes, right? You take a shot, and they either are into it or they're not. And if it doesn't go anywhere, then you have to find another question as an entry point to keep the conversation moving. So, yeah, I mean, that's it. Or the other side is, I mean, occasionally, and it's unfortunate, you just say, you know what, this is a bad interview. You end it early and you just don't air it. You know what I mean? Like there is a give and take here. And just because people are willing to show up doesn't mean they've earned the right to be published and get the opportunity of the platform. Like, it's your show, it's your audience, and you don't owe anything to anybody. You know what I mean? Like, you should be protective. So if they're not going to give you that energy back and they don't appreciate what the show is and what it's about and what you're doing with your time, then forget them, forget them.
Absolutely. Yeah. What's your favorite podcast you've ever produced or listened to, and why?
Favorite show. I'll start with the favorite show that I've listened to, which is Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. That's my guy. I love Conan. I just love him to death. And I just think he's a great interviewer. He can hit so many different ranges and styles of interviewing based on the people that he's talking to. He can make it funny when it's boring. He can ask deep questions and dive deeper when people are willing to open up. I mean, he's just a master at it. Like, if you listen from one episode to the next, it can vary quite a bit. But it's all because he's so good at what he does, and at the same time provides a consistent energy about it. So he's great. He's my number one. I just think he's like the role model. But beyond that, I mean, some of the shows that I produced, there was a show that I did a long time ago. It was literally like 10 years ago now, but I did a documentary style sports show that was super produced. And it's like all the things that you hear today, right? Like the high quality shows where it's all these different sound bites and music and scripts and to put in all of that work. I mean, I spent literally over 30 hours to put together a single 30-minute piece of audio.
Wow.
Because I had to research everything. I had to come up with an idea of what the script was. I had to try to reach out to all these different people to book an interview, do the interview, figure out the sound bites. How do those fit into the script? I've got to cut these sound bites. Editing all them, finding all of the sound and music that I wanted to use, incorporating that into it, and then making all those final tweaks 3 or 4 times as you listen back. Like, it just took forever, but the quality of the work was so good, and I was so proud of it. And it's one of those things that it's just a hard thing to sustain. I think that's one of the bigger universal podcast problems. Like, how do you do that consistently and have enough money behind it when it's a passion project and it's not something that people are truly behind and investing in from the jump? So to do that kind of work wasn't sustainable, but I knew the idea was really good and the quality of the work was really good. So I love doing that kind of thing. But yeah, it's just, if you're going to try to think about the business side of it, it's very hard to be in those kind of moments. So I just have to take it for what it is and approach podcasting in a whole different way.
How does hosting help people grow their personal brand or business?
So it's a great way to get in touch with yourself, right? Like, it's just one of those things where the more you talk about things and have to come up with opinions of stuff. Okay, this thing is this. Why? And when you dig into those kinds of problems, like for me, for example, I'll say to most people out there that sponsors are a bad angle to go for podcasting. It's not going to help you. It's a bad way to build your audience. And you shouldn't do everything on the idea that you need sponsors. And I say that because I've spent a lot of time working in podcasting and seeing what rates are for CPM and running a business and seeing what you can sell things for and the money you can make and the work that goes into a single sale versus getting thousands of downloads to get a couple of dollars from a sponsor. Like, it's just the practical sense of it is if you can come up with something, and this is why I work with businesses, because as a model, it's like, all right, well, you have a service that you sell. There is a high ticket version of that service. We're going to build all of the relationships and the content around that space so that it's natural for you to meet and connect with the kinds of people that need that service, and you can get those sales. And if you're getting one sale, it's going to blow away anything you'd make from sponsors in the course of a year. So like, that's a strong opinion to say that a lot of podcasters should not worry about and should not build their show, especially as a business owner, for sponsors. But that's a very specific opinion, and I've got a lot of reasons for it. So that's really what you're looking to do is you're trying to find, okay, yeah, what are these very specific opinions I have? Well, how does my life experience and research and whatever else might factor into it, how do those things support that argument? And when you're doing that again and again and again, I mean, think of how much you learn about yourself, right? It is a lot of internal analysis of like, okay, I think this. And sometimes you come across an opinion and you're actually like, I used to think this and I would say it offhand all the time, but the more I've thought about it, like, things have changed. It's not a good opinion anymore. Yeah. And so that's growth. And that's what I love about it is, like, the more you think about why you like stuff or why you support things or don't like things, and it's just like you learn about yourself, and that exploration and that individuality, it becomes apparent to people who talk with you, who follow you, who are interested in you, and it separates you. So yeah, the more you can host and think about from that hosting perspective, like, what do you want to talk about? Why do you want to talk about those things? It really takes you interesting places.
What's one myth about good communication that you love to bust?
Ooh, it's easy. People think it's easy. It just, hey, I'm going to show up and, everybody's going to listen to my podcast because I'm so interesting. And the truth is, it's a crowded field out there and you need to be really good. And even then, you need to be really good for a long time. And you have to be consistent about it, of what you're talking about. Because that's the biggest problem is people really believe it. And I get it. Like, hey, you believe in yourself and you believe that you can carry a good conversation. I bet you can carry a good conversation, but can you carry a great conversation? Because everybody can talk. And so can you do it well? Can you do it precise? And be specific and drive things and ask questions and make people think and question stuff. Like, that's the true mastery of it, And I think to just say that there is a mastery of conversation is something that people don't always appreciate. I mean, there's just degrees of talker. The same way that somebody is good at baseball and can't even hold the bat right. You know what I mean? Like there's anybody can technically swing it, but do you have any idea of being able to locate a fastball at 99 miles per hour that's got movement on it? Like, yeah, there's only a handful of people on the planet that can do that. And are you one of those kinds of hosts? Like that's real competition. But when you have it, you stand out because it is work, it is thought, it is engagement and energy. And so there's a lot that goes into it. But yeah, I think people just really take for granted that, hey, I'm a good talker. And so I think I'm good, which means I'm a great podcaster. And it's so much harder than that. That's why, like at the very beginning of this, it was, hey, preparation is key.
Yeah.
Because the more you think about things, the better you are. And it's going to set you apart.
And I can vouch for that. That's I've evolved the show. Now I've prepared more. Before I would just swing it or whatever it was. And then as I got more involved and I've kind of like started improving, it's like, let me start really doing research. Let me start really getting in and asking questions and really getting into the meat of it all. And so, yeah, I've learned, again, it took me time to develop it because I wasn't in media. I don't come from a media background. I just jumped right into podcasting, started went to YouTube University and started learning about podcasting, what are RSS feeds, what mics I should get, what headphones, what mixer, what these are the things I would just started researching and just started looking and learning and then I just developed my sound and then I started developing how I wanted the show to evolve. And I went from interviewing anyone to focusing more on interviewing coaches and other people. So it took growth.
Yeah. And that's everything, right? It's to be able to get this and narrow it down and say, okay, I've done this and I like that and I don't like that. And I want to speak more to this kind of person. And here's why I want to do it. And so here's now the questions that I want to ask those people because I framed the show and therefore the conversation in a certain way. Yeah, it's a game changer, man. Like because you have to figure out the basics of just what it feels like to run a show and talk for a certain amount of time and what that flow is of conversation. And when guests have no interest in giving a real answer and they want to one word answer you, like it all takes those reps. It's just practice. So yeah, that's the game. But man, yeah, I mean, how much better does it feel now to go into a show and do this compared to when you first got started? I bet it's night and day.
Oh yeah, it's much more relaxing. That's for sure.
It's a great way to put it. Yeah, and that's how it was for me too. I mean, I was nothing but stress, man. Going into every single show, I was nothing but stress, and it took me a very long time to get to a point where I would go into these things and not just be nervous.
Yeah.
And that was even after radio, like to be on a national show and then guest on podcasts that had just a handful of listeners. I'd get nervous because it was like, oh, here I am in a new medium now, and I got to prove myself again. And you know what I mean? It just I had to get the reps in to really get comfortable, but that's what it is. And, it's, I mean, it happens to even the best, like some of the biggest names, comedians, actors, like they all get nervous. And it's just when you realize that, yes, I am nervous, but it's just a natural reaction, but I'm like ready for this moment and to do this thing. It's just such a great feeling, but you have to earn it.
Most definitely. What legacy do you want to leave with the people you coach and the content you create?
I just want to help people, man. Like that's it. I'm really a simple guy in a lot of ways. Like I'm not all about me. It's not about my ego and being like the big name and getting all the attention as much as the radio show. Like for me, it was entertaining. I had a good time talking with people. I had a lot of opinions about sports. It was something I was just really interested in. And I got lucky enough to get my door into a radio station, and that was the start. Now that I'm doing all this stuff with podcasting, like my whole show is about helping other people. If I wanted to be famous and some big name, I'd do a totally different kind of show because it's nobody's listening to a show that helps business owners with their podcast. There's like 50 people in America that care about that. But you know what? Those are my 50 people, and that's what I want. So that's cool with me. But yeah, like I had to make those decisions. And It's as long as people are looking at it and going, he put in a ton of work. He tried very hard and gave me his best and did everything he could to help, then like I did my job. That's really how I see it. I just wanted people to be better off because they worked with me.
And it's just funny, right? Because I have a lot of friends that they do a lot of pop culture and entertainment, and they interview all these celebrities and all that, and I'm like, man, I'm like, I'm like, and they do some great numbers, but that's because they do something that interests people, like you said. Not many people want to sit down and hear you talk to coaches and entrepreneurs, and they really don't, unless they're coaches and entrepreneurs, and so one day I was like, man, I wish I wish I could do what you guys are doing. And one of them goes, no. They're like, we love what you do. You're making an impact. We entertain people. He says, but you're touching people's lives with what you do. Your show is making an impact on people. Yeah, so what? You don't have the thousands and thousands of views, whatever it is. But we're just entertaining people. You're actually making a difference in their life. And they're like, we want to do what you do.
It's always how it goes, right?
Right? It's crazy. It's like, man, and when they said it, broke it down for me like that, I was like, man, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's just you always want to see it from the other side. It's always, oh well, I'm living this, so clearly that is where I need to be. I'm missing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, to find a level of comfort and just trust in what you're doing day to day. Like it's great. Honestly, it's such a relief to be like, okay, this is exactly the box that I live in, and I only live here, and I know exactly what I'm good at and what I care about, and exactly what I don't. And so to be able to make all those decisions day to day. And be able to connect with people and present myself where, hey, this is what I do, this is what I'm about, and that's all I do is a relief. Because otherwise everything you're always looking around, you're always chasing, there's always some new opportunity, some idea that you can try, and it just takes away from your ability to grow what you've got and to consistently just double down again and again on what you're building and believe in that is something that few people truly do. And to pick that route where, hey, coaches and consultants, like that's exactly my lane. Like those are the kinds of people I help. It's people who are the face of the business and are the business. So to be able to say, hey, I've been running this business, it's driving me crazy, and like you're connecting me now with the kinds of people through this podcast that can be referral partners for me or potential clients and advocates, like that's huge. That's real impact. And so that's what's exciting to me is I can help them get this thing that is fun and entertaining and natural and lay it out for them and guide it in a way that it actually grows their business. And like, what a cool place to be in, because it's so unique, but engaging. And like, I just love everything about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Vince, man, we've come to the part of the show where you get the solo screen and you get to plug away and let everybody know where they can find you, website, everything.
All right. Well, clearly I hate podcasts, right? I just can't stand it. It drives me crazy. I have no interest in them. So look, if you're interested in working with somebody who is an absolute obsessive about podcasting, you've got a show for your business and it's not doing what you want. You're not getting connections with the right kinds of people. You're not driving in business. You're getting shows with 20 downloads and it just feels like you're posting into space. Well, give me a call. You can go to freepodcasthelp.com. And what I do is it's a 30-minute strategy session. It is completely free. There is no commitments, nothing. It is 30 minutes to sit down, talk with me about your show, and we'll get into specifics of what you're doing, why you're doing it, and some changes that you can make to get your show on the right track. So again, if you're a business owner, have a show, want to continue growing your business, go to freepodcasthelp.com, and I would be happy to work with you. So hit me up there.
Awesome. Question.
Yeah.
Are you an Eagles fan?
No, not possible. Did the hat on the corner there give it away?
I'm going to show you why I'm asking. I'm going to show you why. I'm going to just show you.
Oh, boy. No. Oh, we've done so well today. We've had such a good time.
Yeah. I'm a Giants fan.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Thanks for Saquon.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you're welcome. I think Joe Shane deserves a championship ring. First of all, I need to mail him a championship ring.
That's right.
for not signing Saquon and letting them go for nothing.
Yep.
So yes, I think Howie needs to send Joe a championship ring. Definitely.
Sounds good to me.
But thank you so much for being a guest, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. This was awesome, man. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you. But don't leave just yet. We'll chat a little bit off the air, but let me just close out the show. But again, thank you for being such a great guest.
Yeah, happy to do it.
All right, everybody. Another great episode is in the books. I greatly appreciate Vince for coming through and sharing his story and everything he's doing. It's just amazing. But it's just got to come to an end. So if today's conversation moved you, challenged you, or lit a fire under you, don't keep it to yourself. Share this episode with someone who needs it. Subscribe, leave a review, and let's keep building a community where truth, transformation, and purpose collide. Until next time, stay hungry, stay humble, and above all, stay real. You know how your boy Wise does it. Peace out.